Hi, I am Jan Reardon, and I am proudly representing the Jennifer Reardon Foundation. I'm a board member, and I have the pleasure of coming into Town Meeting TV, CCTV, here in Burlington once a month and interviewing guests that are doing amazing things throughout our area here in Vermont, but even nationally in many cases. And it's just a great way that we're able to continue the legacy of my sister-in-law, which is to be kind, loving, caring, and sharing. And the four pillars of our foundation for the Jennifer Reardon Foundation is early childhood education, women's empowerment, financial literacy, and community vitality, which I think my guest today will tie into everything, which I'm so excited to have this conversation. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this. And my guest today is Peter Hawks, who I want to say welcome to you, Peter Hawks.
Thank you, Jan.
And Peter is representing the Flying Ryan Hawks Foundation. And Ryan Hawks is Peter's son, and we'll talk a little bit more about the foundation and how that was formed in 2011. And I am just so excited about how inspirational this will be. I had listened to a podcast a week or so ago that Peter did with Octagon up in Stowe, and it was just amazing the way that you were able to so eloquently talk about Ryan and his energy and how that's what's still here and will always be here. And I feel that same way, and our family does too with my sister-in-law, Jen. So again, I know he said welcome, but welcome again.
Kindred
yes,
spirits.
Absolutely, Peter. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the amazing work you're doing for people of all ages, what you're doing in the school system, starting with kindergarten?
I was starting really with the fourth, fifth grade.
Fourth, fifth grade, all the way up through high school.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I'd love to talk about that, but please just talk about the mission of the Flying Ryan Hawks Foundation.
Yeah, the primary mission of the foundation is to represent Ryan. He died at age 25.
Right.
Unfortunately, in a ski accident. He was a world-class skier, and he didn't do anything wrong. He just put down a good move in the wrong place, and the fickle finger of fate came up and bit him.
Right.
And so I said many times that I was very close to him, and I knew what he would say. He'd say, "Hey, Dad, I knew the risks. It is what it is." He just did not have a rear view mirror. He was very positive and very outgoing, and everything was now or in the future, and he didn't worry much about the past. So after he died, the sponsors of the tour, MSI, put together a memorial fund for him. And 2 months later, we found on Ryan's computer his core values.
This is the part I love.
And we said,
25 years of age, too, so much wisdom.
At age 25, he'd written down a private note from Ryan to Ryan, probably at night, probably listening to reggae, just kind of, who am I? And it just wrote down the stuff that was important to him, and he came up with his 13 core values. And it was really awesome stuff, very, very simple. Live every day, all day. Don't sit up in the stand spectating life. Be engaged, you know. And it went down the list. Be resourceful. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Play like I'm 13.
I love that one with the wedding that you were at Shelburne Farms, and he's rolling around having a great time as a 5-year-old, having more fun than anybody. Yes, yes.
Ryan was one of the few people I've met who just didn't have to look over his shoulder to see if something was worth doing. If it was fun and it wasn't mean-spirited and it wasn't going to be detrimental to Mother Earth, and if it fit his core values, he wasn't looking for approbation. He'd just launch into it full bore.
Right.
And
he was always like that.
That's one of the qualities that attracted people to him. I mean, he was like a light bulb with flies, with moths circling around.
Right.
He attracted everybody. There was no caste system in his life.
I love that part of it.
Everybody was on equal footing with him. And he was just fun to be around. He was always smiling, he was always upbeat, but he could work hard, and he could be tough. He was a good athlete, but fair, and certainly he wasn't mean-spirited. And all these things just kind of came together in such a way that when he came into the room, people felt better. And we thought, this just deserves to be extended. He got cut short, but his core values gave us an excuse to represent him in future life. And for a couple of years, we shared his core values, and people really liked what they heard. And they were supporting us financially and getting us going. And then we realized that it's not Ryan's core values that are important. If we want to make the world a better place, we want to be a force to stimulate people to be the best selves. Now, how can you be your best self if you don't know who you are? You got to know who you are.
Right.
And who you are is not a function of the noise that's all around us. And there's a ton of noise these days.
Right. I love that you refer to
And
it
a
as
lot of
static.
that noise
And that is
negative.
right. Talk about
And
clogging
not
you up.
everybody in your universe is trying to lift you up. A lot of people are trying to bring you down pretty eloquently on occasion.
Right. Pretty smoothly.
And so you got to have a weapon to distinguish, you know, how you're going to respond. It's not the noise that, you know, stuff happens that you can't control, stuff happens you can control, but that's not what's important. What's important is how you react.
Absolutely.
So if you think about how you react, what's that? That's a choice. And so how do you make choices? Well, best you know who you are before you make those choices.
Right, so they're based on who you are, and as you said, with Ryan, it was all about his core values when he did make a decision.
So if you're in alignment with your core values, you're going to make
go
better
wrong.
choices in life, and life is going to go better, and you're going to just be treating the world in a better way.
Right, and I think we all know that to some extent, but
we all know
we
it's
don't,
right under our noses.
Right, but I don't think we take it to that next step where we really do act on it, and that's what you're saying. Core values are great. It's the action of those, or even the way that those core values are worded. It's in the sense of action. It's not just okay.
A core value is a basis for action.
Yes.
So in writing down your core values, which is what we ask people to do, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this a little later on, because we want everybody in the world, not just the kids, but everybody, to do this exercise for themselves. Because one of the biggest pandemics in this country right now is hopelessness.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Hopelessness is huge. At least 70% of the people in this country are coping with daily sense of hopelessness. Government is broken. And in fact, it is, because our elected representatives are representing parties instead of the issues and the people. Now, there are solutions to that, but that's not why we're here today.
Right. We'll save that for the next show.
It's one of the issues that we all have to cope with, so it's that much more important to know who you are and how you're going to respond to all this noise and negativity and disinformation and so on that's out and around there.
Right, and understanding that level of hopelessness, you know, is deeper in others than it may be in ourselves at different times.
Yeah.
And to really, again, that's where I think the kindness piece folds in, because we just need to be kind to one another so that we feel better about ourselves. And that hopelessness needs to, you know, it can come and go, but it needs to fade. Instead of, you know, that is your place. You don't certainly want anybody to stay there.
That's right. Now, part of reality is that inside us there is a mass of what we call core spirit. Core spirit is a power base that most of us don't take the time to tap into unless, you know, it somehow gets presented to us in such a way that we're receptive. So spirit is matter.
Receptive is perfect. That's the word.
And matter has substance. And we literally inherit our unique. Your core spirit is different than mine, and mine is different than somebody else's.
Right.
But once we take ownership of that core spirit and harness the power of that matter,
and the benefits,
then we're in a position to put together core values that we can't get away from. It becomes a North Star.
Right,
It becomes a compass.
Yes, that's the
norm. And it
norm.
becomes a set of rails that enables us on a daily basis when we're making decisions. Decisions are what? They're choices. Choices are ours. There's nobody who's making decisions for you. People try to help you. Some of them legitimate, some not so legitimate.
Right. It's your decision.
But the choices you ultimately make are yours and yours alone. And you've got to take responsibility for that. Life is a solo journey. You know, even in the commonality of family and all the rest of that. And the other thing about core values that's absolutely critical is a core value is not a core value unless it's a basis for action. So
Love
that means there's got to be a verb.
Right.
Now, when we ask people what their core values are, young kids particularly are going to say, family.
Right.
Family, that's a noun.
Right.
Family doesn't have anything to do with core values, but be the best son, uncle, brother I can be.
That's right, which is what Ryan had written down that
That's a basis
night.
for action.
Yes.
You know, so you know when you're on course in that regard.
Right.
And you have the opportunity at the end of the day, if you've fallen short from your core values, being the best person you can be, you have a chance to review and say, how could I have handled this situation better? So it becomes a basis for reflection. And that's important because that's how you just keep moving that needle right toward the North Star.
Right.
Keep it up there instead of just getting off on a track somewhere.
Right. And you have an incredible reputation, certainly in this area here that I know of, and it goes way back. So obviously you have been very successful, but how have you changed through all this as far as that real focus on core values, or was that something that was always a part of you prior to 2011?
That's a really good question, Jan.
Well, thank you.
In the beginning, when I was growing up in Brattleboro, my mother was making $25 a week and made life work, single mom, in 1947. Third story walk up, you know, we didn't have much of anything. But I didn't know that. I was a happy camper.
Right.
And I realized that if anything was going to come into my life, it was going to be my doing.
You realized it at that age.
I've been employed, making money from age 7.
What did you do?
My first job was I noticed there was a lady hunched over who looked like she was in pain weeding her garden. And I came down out of my third story walk up and I saw her in her garden. I came over and said, "Can I give you some help?"
Oh.
And she said, "Oh yes," and she was very grateful.
That's
I'm pulling out weeds and helping her with the garden. And she gave me 10 cents. And
You were rich.
And she said, "Come back again." And 10 cents in 1947.
Oh, that was a big deal. That was a lot of Tootsie Rolls.
That was a couple of candy bars, maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
So at any rate, I mean, that was the start of a journey. And then I got into Boy Scouts, and they had the Boy Scout motto, but that was their motto. And then I joined in the 30s. This is a long answer here.
No, this is what I was hoping for.
In the 30s, I joined Rotary Club. And I joined the Rotary Club because its motto was service above self. I wanted to give service to the community. I wanted to have a pedestal for doing that and a central resource, and Rotary looked like the answer. And I loved Rotary. And Rotary had something called the 4-way test.
Right.
The 4-way test is something that at least half the Rotarians have no clue. Can't recite it, can't remember quite what it is, but it's pretty simple. It's a set of core values, Rotaries to be sure, but of what you say, think, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? And that was my, I guess you'd call it lazy. That was my lazy North Star.
Right, right.
It was their set of values, but I had it on my desk when I was a broker at Dean Witter, and I was a successful broker at the time. But I employed that. And I didn't always abide by Dean Witter policy when it came to recommendations and the focus of attention in terms of how I dealt with my clients. I was much more interested in knowing who I was working with rather than what their resources were, and the resources came along a little later. But at any rate, that was true, and I had 35 years of perfect attendance, which means I went every week, if not to the local club, to some other club. And whenever I went to another club, I learned something to bring back to my club. So I've been a good Rotarian through the years. Still am, still going.
Fabulous.
And loving it. But when Ryan died, and he'd written his core values, that stimulated me to go back to the well and actually compose my own core values. And I asked everybody on the board of directors. We have 7 members who are on the board, and they've all done their core values, and it's all on our website.
Right.
Core values are private, and they're not private. I mean, if they're real, they can stand the test of accountability and circumspection. So you shouldn't be afraid to say, this is who I am, and if you think that this is baloney, be the first to tell me.
Right.
Yeah, and one of my core values is, what would Ryan do?
I love that.
Because I employ that all the time in my personal life,
Right.
and in the life of the foundation. And I make some decisions that not everybody in my board agrees with, because there's a good deal of Ryan in the decisions
Coming
I make,
through.
and the way we run the foundation. And I'm just grateful beyond belief for the privilege.
And it is a privilege. You're so right. It's the same with our board. You know, it's such a powerful group, and it is. It's like guided by Jen. I've said this many times. And what would Jen do? And when you have somebody like that in your life that you can, you know, keep so present, as you said, they're never gone. You know, that's the part of passing that isn't that sad when you can hold on to that spirit.
Well, you know, that brings up the subject of grief. And I say frequently, and I have the opportunity to talk to people who've lost cherished loved ones internally, externally. I say right out, grief is a privilege. And there's a black hole that's created that never goes away.
Right.
And that should be cherished, because it wouldn't be there if you didn't have a special relationship.
Exactly.
And the bigger the hole, the greater the privilege.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. So instead of being consumed by grief, have enough respect for the person you're grieving for that you try to earn their respect on a daily basis. And you do that by living life to the fullest and living in accordance with the values that they brought into your life.
Right. That matters.
So I see grief as a privilege, and I challenge anybody to basically, you know, get onto the good side of that sword, because it's a 50-50, and it's a choice.
It
Once
sure
again,
is.
it's a choice.
And it's a hard choice.
Everything in life is a choice.
Yes. It can start as a hard choice until you can really embrace that mindset and know the reasons that you are doing certain things. It all comes together to take you really to another level.
It has to have roots to be authentic.
Yes.
And so authentic grief is a good thing.
Yes.
That's my thought on that subject.
How about the scholarships that are being provided right now? And there was one in particular, I think it was somebody that worked at maybe a ski shop in Truckee and applied a few times. That was a beautiful story. If you could share that, please.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
First, let me tell you about the program.
Please.
The program, we have the Flying Ryan Adventure Scholarships. Well, Ryan was always on a quest for adventure. You never know what he was going to come up with next.
How old was he when he started skiing?
Inspirational.
How old was he when he started? I knew he was a mountain biker.
3. Yeah,
Three when he was skiing?
He was mostly a hockey player.
I see.
He thought he was going to play for the Boston Bruins. And so I spent 5 years going from hockey rink to hockey rink.
Oh, that's a world of its own, right?
Some of his formative years from, let's say, 4 to 7 or 8. I took him skiing because as a hockey player, he kind of knew how to get skis down the hill.
Right.
And I decided to take him over to Tuckerman's Ravine and show him what a real hill is.
At what age?
And he was 9, I believe, at the time.
That's
and we
a story.
climbed up Mount Washington. It was a beautiful climb.
Oh,
We
yes.
got up in the snowfields, and I said, Ryan, here's how you make a 2-pole turn. It's going to get a little steeper over there.
A little. You're right.
And there's plenty of snow that year, and we're right at the center of the ravine, and with the lunch rocks below, which are sometimes exposed. And I said, Ryan, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go? I said, yeah, you go, Dad. He was looking good. So I went down, and the snow forms in the ravine because it's a snark, and just the snow just packs in there. Sometimes it's steeper than hell.
Right.
It's really steep. This year it happened to be pretty steep. And I get down there, I made about 2 or 3 turns. I thought, what have I done?
Were you concerned?
Yeah. And I'm just pulling out, getting ready to call to Ryan and say, I may have an issue on my hands here. And he cuts in front of me.
No.
He comes right in
that
front of
gives
me.
Chills. Yeah.
And this is his first time down a really steep hill. And he looks at me and says, hi, Dad.
That is precious. Oh,
And
that's
I'm like,
great story.
I can't believe it.
What you're seeing, right?
When we got to the bottom, he just about peed his
Life-altering.
pants.
Yes.
He was so excited. He said, Dad, I'm going to be a skier. And I said, yeah.
Oh boy, what an accomplishment, right? Yeah.
That was our last hockey rink I ever went to.
And what a great ski buddy, too.
Been on skis ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice start that is.
Oh, yeah. So that was just one of the most exciting events.
And what a memory.
It's
yes.
pretty irresponsible when I look back on it, but it had a good ending.
Right, right.
And we were going on.
So we were going on to the adventure scholarships,
yeah.
right. So I'd say he kind of is a little adventurous.
Oh, yeah. So the adventure scholarships, basically we started that because we wanted to recognize people who normally don't get recognized. We're not looking for Olympic athletes. We're looking for people who are passionate. We want to stimulate and reward passion because we think passion is a fundamental ingredient in life. And the more you got, the better it is.
Yes.
And if you got passion and you don't have the means to execute your
then
dream,
you get into the hopelessness that we talked about
exactly.
before. Right.
Exactly. It's an offset to hopelessness. You can't be passionate and hopeless at the same time.
Right.
Maybe part and part, but not at the same time. And at any rate, we said if you're passionate about something, you don't have the means, and you share with us your core values, because we want to know who it is who's there. We want a real person.
Absolutely.
Who's undertaking this adventure. We're game. And we've given over 200 awards. And I just got another application 2 days ago.
Because it's ongoing, right? There's not
It's ongoing. It's
yes.
a rolling.
Yes.
We've never failed. We've never denied an application in 14 years. If we get a weak application, we write and ask for more. We ask for more. We do what we got to do to build a bridge,
right,
and get a connection, and bring it up to speed and make the award. Normally, the applications are incredibly high quality, and so it's not complicated. It's a one-stop deal.
Right.
Done. But there was a case of a young guy in California who was not a writer by nature. He was a kind of a worker kind of guy with working skills, worked with his hands.
Right.
But he wanted to get on the Freeride World Tour. He's a good skier. And he wrote us, and it was kind of a pretty sketchy application. Mm-hmm. And we wrote him back, and he kind of worked on it and sent it back to us and said, "You're making progress. Yeah, this is good. Tell us a little more about this. Tell us a little more at that." We went around 4 times. And by the 4th time, he'd realized that he had his community all come in and help him work with him.
And that in itself, just to be able to do that and be resourceful.
It was a growth experience for him. He had to become resourceful.
Right.
And he wrote an application that absolutely we could put a stamp on.
Oh,
it's one of the best awards we've made, because there was a process where we engaged, he engaged, we both grew.
Right.
And that's a privilege. But it's all based on basically the spirit of representing Ryan in a Ryan way.
Right. Keeping his integrity
Ryan
in the
on the
forefront.
Freeride World Tour was an institution of kindness. Kindness.
Back then, right.
There at Crested Butte, 2 weeks before he died, he was in an event, and we were all out there, Alicia and Jackie, and we were all out there. And there were a group of Canadians who'd come down who didn't know anything about Crested Butte, anything about the tour here. They were kind of new to the scene. And Ryan took them under his wing and showed them around and helped them with all the stuff they needed to do. And at the end of the day, we're all sitting at a table, and Ryan's not dumb. our table soon had a whole bunch of people sitting there because he knew Dad was probably going to pick up the bill. But
what a beautiful opportunity to have had that time together at that point.
Oh yeah, but he left, and the next thing I saw, he had a little tray with 5 or 6 schnapps on it, and he's taking it over to the other side of the room, and there's were the Canadians, and he was just bringing it over to the Canadians, and he said, "Have a good week, guys." You know, I mean, he just operated
naturally.
He just operated that way. And it was so easy and so
genuine
smooth and so genuine.
Right.
Authentic.
Yes.
Authentic. He's totally authentic. Totally in the moment. And totally aware that Dad's credit card wasn't too far off.
That helped to kind of have that in the back of your mind.
We make him out to be a saint, but he's not a saint.
Well, nobody is.
He's
right?
a real person.
Yes.
You know,
that's what makes all of this so good, is the balance of life.
And we accept that. He was the full Ryan.
Right. Right. What great stories you have.
So yeah, I mean, it's just been a privilege to represent him, and it gets back to our mission, which is we're trying to make the world a better place because Ryan was in it. One person.
That's right.
One day. One event. One core value. One decision at a time. One choice at a time. And so if I talk to 100 people and I get one to change their ways and put a North Star up, tap into their core energy, that's a home run.
Absolutely.
That's all I need.
Right.
You know, if it's 2, that's better.
Bonus.
But, you know, 1's plenty. None, not enough.
Right. There's more to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of which, because we're getting sort of close to the end, I don't want to wrap this up too quickly here, but what would you say is next? I know you're doing a lot through the school system.
Yeah, we're working through the school system. We have kind of an institutional program that starts in it's called Decisions.
Right.
Teaching kids how to make decisions, choices in their lives.
Right.
We teach them about core values or the facilitators.
And this is 4th grade, is what you're saying.
This is basically from 4th grade through high school.
Right, okay.
But generally at the high school level. It's part of the personal learning plan, which is mandated curriculum.
Yes.
So a half hour a week, you got this mandated program, and we're step 1.
And that's mandated in the state of Vermont.
By the state of Vermont.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I forget what the number was, something or other. But at any rate, so we teach them, you know, to get a foundation of what a core value is, and then they spend some time writing their core values, and then they illuminate their core values by turning them into pictures, and then they take the pictures and their core values and turn them into a presentation in what South Burlington High School called sophomore exhibition.
Love
the
that.
Sophomore year.
Talk about an opportunity.
Yeah,
That's
and always
transformational.
We want the individual that we're reaching to be in control. So in the sophomore exhibition, this is a big deal. They've got maybe 300 or so students in class. Each one of them invites the people who are important in their life. They don't have a pre-assembled audience, but they invite the people that they want to share who they are with. And when they get those people in there, then they say, this is who I am, these are my core values, these are my expectations in terms of career. I've been to about 40 of these things, and it's mind-blowing.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I've seen parents, rather, who have no clue.
I was going to say shocking in times, I'm sure.
Their
child was thinking, yes, who was living with them, right?
And in tears. Very compelling. I've seen kids who were basically very self-contained bloom, as they begin to establish the ownership of knowing who they are.
And their potential.
Yeah, and knowing that. So it's been very, very exciting. But that's, you know, by its nature, that's not going to help us really get to a whole ton of folks, because it's very cumbersome. It's a cumbersome program, tough.
Right.
Probably only 20% of the Vermont schools that are supposed to be doing this are doing it now. More importantly, today, before we run out of time.
Right, please, whatever you'd like to share.
Where we can make a difference is with our latest program, which is the Core Values Challenge. The Core Values Challenge, and this is for your folks out here.
That's right, with the QR code.
There's a QR code on this little card here.
You're right.
And there it is, right there on the screen.
Love it.
You've got no excuse except to, right now, get your phone out, take a picture of that QR code, and learn a little bit about core values, but most importantly, start writing them. When you start writing them down and submit them to us, we put them on the core values wall, which is on our website, along with the resource. If you happen to have come from the Edge, where they've got 12 posters serving 10,000 clients, all of which have gone up in the last week, that's an outreach that we just haven't had. Right. This is quick. This only takes 5 or 10 seconds, boom, and you've got what you need to start that journey. Now, it's a little sprint getting your first core values written, but it's a lifetime journey because you can always go back and adjust them. And in the case of this card right here, happens to have Jersey Mike's on it. If you do your core values and turn them in and they show up on the core values wall, your name shows up on the wall along with the Jersey Mike's logo, and we send you a certificate for a free Jersey Mike's sub. So Jersey Mike's is investing a sub in anybody who's willing to do the core values. So if you guys are hungry, you got the QR code, and all you have to do is, write down your values and get them up on the wall, and head out to Jersey Mike's to get yourself a sub. And we've got other community partners.
Right.
We've got about 20 community partners.
I love companies that can really embrace the importance of having core values. And I'd love to speak with you too about the Essex Resort.
We've got about 15 or 20 community partners
Wonderful.
Who support us financially, but they haven't been able to support our mission of core values. With this now they have
something
the
tangible.
Opportunity.
Exactly.
Something tangible that can really reach out to their guests, their customers, their clients.
And bringing people from
so
all over.
Our footprint is growing.
Right.
And so we're very excited about that. So that's what's new. And that really sets us on a potential journey that Lord knows where that's headed. But we're growing. That's the bottom line. We're growing.
Obviously. Yeah. Well, Peter, I can't thank you enough. I hope we can get together again, to talk just off camera and chat about things, because I'm so inspired by you and your foundation, and, everything that Ryan continues to stand for is beautiful. So there's such a nice alignment with our lives in that sense, as far as, certain people, don't always come along in your life that are quite like this, and we really do have to treasure it. Like you said, grief is a good thing, because it shows the depth of your feeling and the depth of that person's integrity and the impact on your life.
Grief and gratitude.
Yes.
I mean, I am just loaded to the gills with gratitude for all the incredible privileges, large and small, that I've enjoyed in life. And gratitude is either active or passive. I'm a big fan of active gratitude. I mean, it's really authentic.
Well, thank you. You have inspired me way beyond today, and I look forward to getting to share more stories with you in the very near future.
Well, I'm loving what you're doing with your kindness initiatives.
I mean,
that's right up our alley.
Yes, I agree, and I do think there's things that we can do together. My brother has done an amazing job. We have the Explora Science Museum out in Albuquerque, and there's the Science of Kindness. And it's, research has been done by the University of California at Berkeley to talk about companies that are embracing leadership, having that kindness in the forefront. And I do believe it's getting better and better. More people are recognizing it and being appreciative and having gratitude for different things, whereas before you didn't really talk about that as much. Or core values. I mean, I never really talked about that. This has been a whole new experience for me. As much as I thought I was doing some nice things out there in the world, it just makes you more present to know what you really can do and how good you can feel when someone else has had their life enhanced because of something that you may have been able to contribute to.
Yeah. Well, this Core Values Initiative is a potential ingredient to add value to any business, any business crew that adopts the Core Values challenge as a group.
Love this.
And not only composes core values, but shares core values with one another. They have a depth of connection
that they didn't It's
and
like
that adds
networking in
value
a-
to the output.
Right, because then
Increases productivity.
right, and then the friends that you get to make through that process
Yeah.
is beautiful too. Just like you said, Ryan, at the event, and then the people from Canada, and it's like bringing everybody together and understanding the good of that person instead of just having it be a transaction. It's more of that rapport and that relationship, and it makes us all better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot thank you enough, Peter.
right.
Thank you so much. Okay. That one.